Once in a hour, do some archbishop. Been a school them from when me in a khaki shop. Liverpool couldn't test the way me raw sit up quick draw. Him drop and can't get up, him not fast enough for my problem that you never solve. Send for the Dan brace for a firestorm, cause I turn into a monster. Ready for the war, better with your black. None of them boy, they no bad. None of them boy, they no bad. Back pants in my hour to some archbishop. Them no bad. School them from me in a Turkish. Them no bad. School couldn't test it with me rasty. Drop and can't lift up. No fast enough for my Bible that you never solve. Send for the brand new spear fire storm, cause I turn into a monster. Ready for the war. Better with your food. None of them boy, they no bad. Left a mark, young gog on a regular. We say them hardly ready. Them a new type of artillery. We a boss, I know Tom and Jerry. Out the blue I hit you with an airstrike. They not bad like my air Nikes. It's a rare sight, yeah. Steady aim with precision, make the vision with a clear sight. Better go get your affairs right. Them boy, they not bad. None of them boy, they no bad. Road back, live with my bar. If you mark, them no bad. Them no regular. We see them hard, them no bad. Me a new type of artillery. Me a bust, I no Tom and Jerry. Out the blue, you with the airstrike. Them no bad. Me air the night, no bad. Clear sight. Steady aim, them no bad. And it's the vision, we got clear sight. Better get perfect. Them boy, they no bad.
Welcome back to the Indy Boys Racing Podcast. It's gonna. It's May. Thank you guys. It's May here on the Indy Boys Racing Podcast. My name is Tristan Ryder, joined with my co-hosts Daniel Chaney and Justin Cox. We have a special guest host today, the man, the myth, the legend. He's the man that we all grew up watching on IndyCar.
Oh, no. Wow. We're taking a shot right at 5 seconds in.
David Land is joining us today. How are you doing, Dave?
It's great to be with the Indy Boys. I know we've tried to put this together for a while, and here I am. It's May 1st, so good timing. That's what I like to see.
We got the countdown in the bottom left corner, and I'm just saying, I'm excited. We got a full weekend of stuff to talk about, but the first thing we have to talk about is Daniel. What's you got a new friend back there, buddy? We normally see Dale,
the gang is all here.
Get some Skid Row vibes right now.
It's like the Smash Bros. Like everyone is here because the boys are here. We got Dalton Kellett on the show permanently. Friend of the show.
I miss him.
Icon. We all love him.
I do.
He is now cemented. He is now cemented as Indy Boys legend status.
He's an honorary guest.
Yeah, he will always be an honorary guest to the show.
However, is he NASCAR 75? Just saying, is he NASCAR 75?
Hey, I mean,
I hear
one of them's gonna.
Are you saying Dalton's not versatile?
Oh my gosh. Oh, we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
We have a very special show to talk all things about today. It's very rare that we get to do a show right after a NASCAR race, so we're going to talk all about Dover, and we're going to talk about this past weekend at Baku for F1, the Snorefest that was, and we're also going to talk all about Barber.
Yeah.
So, and we're also going to do a quick little highlight about the 100 Days to Indy and some fun stuff about IndyCar because, as you guys know over here on the podcast, we make this entire month all about IndyCar. So we are very excited. And who's better than one of our good IndyCar friends, David Land, to help guide us through it. But as we start the show every single week, we're going to start with a little bit of motorsport media. Let's go ahead and get to it.
All right, NASCAR.
Let's do it.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, guys. So first things first, we have to talk about the weekend winners for the NASCAR Cup Series. So shout out to the Truex boys for showing up this weekend. Ryan Truex get his first career Xfinity Series win this weekend, and Martin Truex Jr. get the win this weekend. I don't know if that's the first time that brothers have won or swept a weekend before, but I've never seen it happen. I'm
Did the Bush brothers ever do it?
The Wallace brothers did it. They were talking about that on the broadcast.
Okay.
I think Mike and Rusty did it once.
I like that.
That
I like that
checks
a lot.
out.
So there you go. I mean, it's been a long time since that has happened. Biggest news that we have to talk about is regarding a guy named Josh Berry. So he's back in the Cup Series right now, filling in for Alex Bowman. But these aren't the rumors that we're talking about right now. From sources, it's saying, and Josh Berry himself, he will be announcing his full-time Cup Series ride on the weekend that we're all at IMS. He's going to be making the announcement live on Sirius XM on Coca-Cola 600 weekend. So some people think this could be a third Spire entry. Others thinking this could be an RFK entry. My prediction, and a lot of people's prediction, is that Josh Berry has cemented himself as to getting the 4-car ride. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know. I could see him going a multitude of places. I don't know. Josh Berry is a lot of talent, so I don't see him not getting maybe a Cup ride.
I agree.
But it just depends where. But I definitely could see him going to the 4 possibly, but I don't know. Daniel?
Yeah, I would like it if he goes to the 4. I think that's a pretty good fit. He's one of those guys that I can't tell what the plan is. Because he's not necessarily young. He's not old either. But he's kind of in that weird middle stage where in NASCAR, it doesn't really matter. You can win championships in your 40s for all NASCAR drivers care.
Yeah.
But, it'll be really interesting, I think, if he goes to Stewart Haas or it's the 4 or the 10, whatever sponsorship allows. I think that would be a good fit because I think Stewart Haas needs a little kick in the butt, get them going a bit. And Josh Berry, I think, will be nothing but that. I think he's completely proven he deserves a Cup ride this season.
Yeah, for sure. D-Land, we want to hear your opinion too, bud.
Josh Berry has been one of the most impressive drivers in the last couple of years in the Xfinity Series. I think the fact that he's been getting Cup opportunities already, fill-in duty with Hendrick Motorsports has told everything that we need to know about how the people within the Cup Series feel about him. I would be surprised. What surprises me about the rumors, particularly the seeming leaning towards Stuart Haas, is that it surprises me that Rick Hendrick and Dale Jr. and that kind of apparatus, Jeff Gordon as well, would let him get away, because I think Josh Berry has the potential to be a Cup champion. So seeing him go to a Ford team, see him replace Harvick, that's, I understand why Josh Berry would take that opportunity. That's a huge opportunity.
His stock is so high right now. And
oh yeah,
it's almost as high as Zane Smith right now. I still think Zane Smith has the highest stock right now for free agency, but Josh Berry is right below him. So it makes complete sense, right? I mean,
yeah. Get your bag, son. That's what we like to see.
Capitalize.
Some other news coming off of this weekend. We're getting a lot of throwback schemes. Some of the highlights are Daniel Suarez's Quaker Steak scheme. That is absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't looked at the throwback schemes, go to NASCAR.com. They have a list of all the throwback schemes on there. And finally, the last thing we have to talk about is NASCAR 75. We have 2 other drivers that are going to join my boy Casey Kane over here. First driver, of course, and D-Land likes it too, because D-Land's a Casey Kane fan too, so I get you. First driver we have to talk about is joined with Daniel, right over there with Daniel and Dalton. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 3 Ds over there.
Daniel, Dalton, Dale.
Daniel, Dalton, and Dale. Dale Earnhardt Jr., by no surprise, is going to be in the NASCAR 75. And then announced live on NASCAR Race Hub, Terry Labonte came out and announced that his brother, Bobby Labonte, NASCAR 2000 champion, will be...
My all-time favorite NASCAR driver. Yes, sir.
True. That is true. And so Bobby Labonte is going to be part of the NASCAR 75. There are still a couple more drivers that need to be announced. Most notably, Kyle Busch has still not been announced for the NASCAR 75.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Busch, his brother, has also not been announced. So I guarantee you we will see the Busch brothers announcement pretty soon. But besides that, I don't really see any more snubs really that haven't made the NASCAR 75 yet, because I mean it's the original 50 and then 25 new drivers. So are there any drivers that you guys are thinking that are missing from the 75 right now?
Have they announced Jimmy yet?
No.
But he'll be there.
Yeah, if he's not there.
They haven't announced him. They haven't announced him, Dale Senior or.
Well, he's already going to be in it because
Yeah, he's in the first 50.
They're not
Oh, okay,
announcing
okay.
all of them. They're just
Yeah.
going to announce the 25 new drivers.
Yeah.
So how many are left then?
Believe it's 7 drivers that are left. I could always look at let me check my sources.
I think you
But-
have to have every Cup champion in there, right? And so which Cup
Yeah.
champions haven't been named to the list? It would be
Kurt
Jimmy.
Busch, I know Kurt Busch
Have they
has not been
announced
announced
Logano yet?
They haven't announced Logano or Matt Kenseth yet.
Yep. Okay, so
So-
they
Yeah.
those both need to be on there.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely. Just from the top of my head, I feel like those are the drivers that.
Did they get
need
Harvick
to be
already?
announced. Harvick hasn't been announced either, so,
Ooh, Harvick,
so it looks like
yeah,
we're missing
Harvick.
Harvick, Logano, and Kenseth and Johnson,
Both Bushes.
and
The
the
two
Busch
Bushes.
brothers. So there's
Mhm.
6 of the 7 drivers, I believe,
Dang.
that we need on there. Let's see.
Do we think
have-
Crafton will be on there for trucks? That
Mm.
I mean,
that's the one. That's the one that I think some people would see as an
There's
oddball.
There's 10 slots left according to Toby
Okay.
Christie's website. There's 10 slots left. You have the 6 Cup champions that need to be on there. Then maybe you put Mike Skinner in there. I mean, in most people's opinions, one of the goats of the truck series could be
Jack
on
Sprague's another name I've heard kind of said a couple of
yeah.
times.
there.
I can see
Definitely
him.
for his Xfinity
Some
route.
people were saying Johnny Benson, which I was a bit surprised why
I
Johnny
would-
Benson's name was
I would
coming
pick Johnny Sauter over Johnny Benson. That's just my
Mhm.
honest opinion, and I don't think Johnny Sauter should make it. So there's definitely some names that should be announced this week. I expect to see both Busch brothers, possibly a Harvick announced. I actually, I bet Harvick is the last driver they announced just because it's his last season. Truex also has not been announced. So,
Oh yeah, that's true.
up. Oh wow.
and if you have to include all the NASCAR champions, if Kyle Larson gets in over,
He already is.
I know,
Yeah,
I know,
he's in.
but
That's
if
what
Larson
he's-
gets
yeah.
in and
Okay,
Truex
okay.
doesn't, that's kind of weird because Larson has like 30 less wins than Truex does.
So there's
So-
eight Cup champions, and then you'd have one from Xfinity and one from trucks, right? That would be your 10.
I would
Potentially,
assume.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, you have to put Matt Crafton because he's the only driver to win a championship in the playoff system without a win. Honestly,
Yeah.
like, you kind of have to. You kind of have to.
I think you have to take recency bias out. Like I know he's been kind of meh the past few years, but he's still he's one of the goats. I think
He is.
for the Truck Series. Do
I
we
agree.
think my hot take of maybe a Jamie McMurray somehow slides in there, or do we think it's too late?
Jamie
He's
Nah,
won
McMurray-
a lot of crown
He
jewel
has
races.
won a lot.
Yeah.
He's won 3 of the 4 Crown Jewel races.
But I mean,
So-
Denny is on there, so if you
Denny
think
is on
about
there,
it-
so
If you think about it, Jamie.
And he's
Matt
also
could be
made
on
the
there.
championship 4 so many times though. So
He's also won the Daytona 500 a whole bunch, which I think
Yeah.
counts for something.
well, I guess we'll see. I could see possibly Jimmy McMurray, but I feel like you have to put like a Jack Sprague or a Matt Crafton on that list at least, and then Mike Skinner, maybe someone's
getting
gonna get left
snubbed,
off.
Period.
Someone
So-
is going to get left off, but we'll see. All right, so that's all the news we have on the NASCAR side of things. Jay, we're going to send it over to IndyCar so that
Oh yeah,
Daniel
go
and
ahead.
David can talk.
Yeah.
All right, Dan.
Alrighty, so I believe I only have like 2 bits of news. The first thing is that IndyCar has extended its race contract with Barber through 2027. This is no surprise. Barber's a fan favorite track. It's a driver favorite track. Just during the pre-race ceremonies, like in their coverage, like you could tell a bunch of the drivers were saying, "Oh, this is one of my favorite tracks. Like, it's so fun." It's just a good track. It's no surprise. So it'll be there for 4 more seasons at least, but I don't see it going anywhere.
Yeah.
And then last bit of news, I guess it's a little bit of 2-in-1 news because it's from the same article. But Marshall Pruitt wrote an article about how Andretti still believes that Grosjean will be heading towards contract extension after this season. He is done with his contract after the season. There's some question whether he was going to stay or not with his sports car stuff that he'll be starting, I believe, next season. But Michael Andretti basically said that the plan is still to have him if he's willing to come back, and that he's very optimistic that he will come back for the 28. Also in this article, Michael Andretti was asked about the opportunities that might happen with the 29 car. Devin DeFrancesco is also in a contract year. And basically what he said is that nothing's been decided as of now. It's still very early in the season. He said that people have been inquiring about it that can pay for it. Ooh. But he said the team is not going to be announcing anything. They're not going to be making any decisions until at least mid-season. That's when internal decisions will be made. Who knows when the external public announcements will be made. I really don't know. I don't think Devlin will be back. I think his results this season have been great. The first 2 races I don't think were necessarily his fault.
They weren't.
Obviously,
well, the second one was a little bit more his fault, Texas, but
I still don't think that was fully his fault. Because it was his car broke and then he's kind of, it happens. The first one, he got flipped into the air. Can't really control that. I don't necessarily think he should return to the 29, but I don't necessarily think he should fully get shafted from an IndyCar ride. I think he was shot up way too quickly.
True.
And you see this happen a lot. I really don't think he should be completely gone from IndyCar, maybe a lower level team. What are your guys' thoughts on this? I'll go to David first, since you're the fellow IndyCar expert here.
Well, where do we begin? I guess Roman Grosjean's where we'll start, since he's a hot commodity right now. I knew that he had talked to at least one other team before the season about next year. It's interesting to know that the results that he's put together have gotten him to the point where he could have a contract extension. We'll see if he can get a win. That seems to be the thing that eludes him. Devlin is an interesting case because, it's no secret he's paying for that ride, right? I've heard numbers around, I think it's like $8 million a year that he's paying Andretti. So when you hear Michael say, people have come to me and say they can pay for the seat, they're matching at least that, probably. I would hazard a guess. So even if Devlin doesn't return to the 29 car, I think you guys are right on in your assessment that someone will take that money, as long as that funding remains with Devlin. Sometimes we see in the past with Andretti, a driver will come in with funding and the driver will leave and the funding will stay. A great example of that is Veach with Gainbridge.
Definitely.
So I don't know. I definitely think there's an obvious weak link at Andretti, and it's Devlin. But that's also not a performance-based seat either. That seat exists because someone's paying for it. And so I guess we'll find out. And when we hear mid-season, that means the day after the Indy 500, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
Because
if you guys don't know that, if you don't perform at Indy, you're pretty much like
you're gone.
Talks of not.
You're gone.
Think about it. Like, unless you were Renus VK, if you didn't perform well at Indy, you really didn't get a contract extension. So VK, I think, was the only driver that got a contract extension, but that was because it was before the contract was literally like signed, before it was announced, before 500. So it's a lot of stuff. And you're right completely with that 29 car with that Steinberger entry, that it is completely a pace seat. I mean, we saw it with like Hinchcliffe. I mean, near the end of James Hinchcliffe's career, I am a firm believer that if Genesis hadn't come on as a sponsor, then he would not have raced those final 2 years.
Nope.
No.
So again, you mentioned Zach Veach, Simon Pigot, and a couple other drivers that have been through that kind of rotation with sponsorship. But predictions for that 29 car. I mean, I'm a big fan of our Aussie boy Hunter McElroy. I'd love to see him step to feet. But I've also heard some other rumors of other drivers either moving up or moving teams. But we'll cross that road when I talk to them. So, you got anything else IndyCar wise? I mean, David's kind of had that announcement about the 100 days to Indy. If you wanted to.
Oh yeah, I guess we should talk about that. That broke like 2 seconds ago. That I guess and I had heard a few things. I don't know if it was public, but I know I'd heard a few things about Vice and its financial state. But just the New York Times had an article that Vice may be going bankrupt. And Vice, if you don't know, is the production company that produces 100 Days to Indy. And so, depending on when the bankruptcy happens, maybe the TV show's in trouble. I don't know. We'll have to see. I would imagine they're so far down the line with the TV show, and really they're going to stop filming next week or 2 weeks from now. So
I mean, I bet you they film at the 500. You don't think they'll film the day of the 500?
I think they might.
Oh yeah, that's right. So they've got to survive 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
To get the TV show finished. And even if it goes bankrupt, like bankruptcy doesn't mean the company's going to just suddenly go away.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that could happen with that in the courts or how they decide to settle the debt. It's not an immediate death sentence, but it's certainly not a good sign for a season 2 at least.
We'll see. However, a very good first episode.
I was gonna say, what was your guys' thoughts on the first episode though? Because of my assessment, honestly, I kind of enjoyed it because I like being able to see behind the scenes, because that's kind of why people like Drive to Survive anyway. They like being able to see behind the scenes and stuff. I like being able to see how Joseph Newgarden is at home with him, his kid, his wife, and stuff. I like that. I like seeing stuff like that. What is your guys' assessment of 100 Days to Indy?
I liked that stuff. The stuff I didn't like was when they were trying too hard to be Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
For example, having a random strategist walk up to Marcus Ericsson and say, F them all, right? That is a Drive to Survive moment, and that's not necessarily something that, I wanted to see out of my IndyCar. But
let's talk about how
Did you notice how the...
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you notice how the lips didn't match on when that was going on? Because they were talking to a PR guy. It was like he was talking to the PR guys from Ganassi, and then they cut, and it was like, wow, they were like trying to cut those two things together, which was kind of weird.
I thought it was recorded somewhere else, and they were just putting it over stock footage of him.
Yeah,
that was my guess.
It might have been.
Wasn't a very good edit. We'll put it that way.
What in the Bachelor Nation is going on with my IndyCar?
Let's talk about how James Hinchcliffe is our Will Buxton. I just want to say.
Yeah,
hey, I mean,
I liked it.
I'm not complaining with that.
Our boy.
Other people in the show tried to be Will Buxton and didn't do a very good job. I
wonder who that could be.
Wasn't me. They didn't ask.
Nope. I wonder who they would ask. Anyway, tune into 100 Days to Indy on the CW.
I will say the one thing I didn't like wasn't necessarily part of the episode, but I can tell it's for a future episode. Because why were the commentators at the beginning of this race trying to make rivalries out of nothing?
Oh, yeah.
They kept bringing up Pato and Dixon. I was like, I get it. That happened. Nothing on track is showing you that something's about to happen. Why are you making it seem like it's going to happen?
Also, Christian Lundgaard is going to get the entire episode for Barber. I think that's going to be Lundgaard's episode because, I mean, he had that incredible pass, but the entire time I'm starting to hear him Diffie. He's look at Christian Lundgaard staying consistent, or he's up to 4th.
Hey, I thought I was going to get my wild card pick right for a hot minute. I was like, did I pick another weird first win?
I feel like the Barber episode is going to be the time where they talk kind of more about Ray Hall. Because I mean, now that you have Letterman on as an executive producer of this show, I mean,
Yeah.
kind of important to focus on his team. So
They were also trying to bring up Jack Harvey a lot, so I wonder if they're going to try and make it about Harvey too.
well, I haven't seen him in any of the.
They were in like the practices, like
Okay.
the practice and qualifying. They kept bringing up how like his sponsor was like his something with his dad. I don't know.
Oh yeah, his dad like worked in that industry or something.
Yeah, they kept
I
bringing
remember.
it up. So I wonder if we're just gonna get a whole Ray Hall show
Which I'd
for
be
the
fine
Barber
with
episode.
because
Yeah, I think they're an interesting team.
Hey, shout out Joe Donahue in the chat.
Yeah,
Joe!
Joe. We like Joe.
We love Joe here.
Yes,
No,
David is
the
an
Ray Hall
honorary
episode
Indy
will
boy.
be very interesting if they do it about Bump Day.
Ooh, that's-
from our boy Joe, it's actually illegal to have too many handsome men in one podcast.
you flatter us, Joe.
Listen. A couple other things from the chat. Royal, he says, feeling old yet, David? You're on here with all these young guys.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling old for sure. I feel older every day, believe it or not.
And then
Our job
Brennan,
is to make everybody in the media center feel old.
You know what? Actually, that's a good thing. Please continue to do that. If I feel like I'm the old one, we're going in the right direction.
and Brennan says, "What's up, David Land?" So
Hello.
yeah, so a couple other people to shout out there. Thanks for tuning into the show live, guys. All right, pass it over to Jay for some formula stuff.
All right, let's get into it.
Ravioli.
Give
Let's
me the
go.
formula. You know what I'm saying?
Let's go.
David was.
Oh, we're
ready for
having
that.
too much fun with these sound effects, aren't we?
Okay, yeah. So starting off with some Formula 2, they had a race at Baku over the weekend. Ollie Bierman takes home. Actually, he's the driver to top every session. He won both the sprint and the feature race, and I believe he did pretty good in the practice and qualifying. I don't know. That was too early for me to be up for F2 this weekend, I'm just saying. But yeah, so Ollie Bierman, he comes home. He wins both the feature and sprint race in F2. To kind of highlight some team standings real quick, Prema, Doms, and Art are all 1, 2, 3 in the team standings. And driver standings, it's Teo Pucher, Frederick Vesti, and Ayumu Iwasa are the top 3 in F2. Now moving on to some F1 news, because we still got some races to review, so I'm going to try and go through this pretty quick. Adrian Newey has re-signed with Red Bull Racing despite rumors suggesting otherwise. Owen covers the key role he plays within Red Bull Racing. That's from Project Dive Bomb. Franz Tost will step down as AlphaTauri team principal at the end of the season. Laurent Mikus will replace him from Ferrari at a later date, while the former FIA executive Peter Bayer will join as CEO later in the year. As announced this weekend, Baku will be staying on the F1 calendar until 2026. So awesome to see Baku, one of my favorite street tracks in F1, honestly. So next up, Ted Kravitz. This is kind of some smaller stuff. Ted Kravitz confirmed that mechanics and engineers have been allowed to stand on the pit wall and have pit wall celebrations as long as their feet are on the concrete. And then finally, last thing to get through the F1 news really fast. The stewards admit it was very lucky that no one got hurt in the pit lane where the photographers were basically on pit lane as Ocon was coming in, which I thought was kind of crazy because why are people allowed in pit lane when they're still racing on the track? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and also shout out to Ocon because I don't think he lifted because he's like, this is my race.
I
and out of my
don't
way.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
He said bonus points.
Yeah, for real. Bonus points plus 100. But yeah, the FIA says they're going to take immediate steps to make sure that it never happens again. I mean, in my opinion, that's something that shouldn't have happened to begin with because that's kind of weird that happened. So yeah, I don't know. But all right, let's go ahead. Let's do some race reviews. We would have a bunch of transition and stuff. Hold on. Complaining about the DRS zones being too short. In my personal opinion, I don't know why they decreased the zones of the DRS zones, the length of the DRS zones. I think it was honestly because they were trying to nerf Red Bull a little bit. In my opinion, that's what a lot of people were speculating. At least
Didn't work.
Yeah, clearly it didn't work, but I don't know, and it didn't really create for the best racing throughout the field the rest of the way anyway. The rest of the race anyway, so it didn't really matter to nerf Red Bull. So I don't know. Just a lot of people a lot of people even agree with the drivers. I don't think it shouldn't have been shortened at all. So that's my opinion.
Brennan says there should be bumping in F1. I mean, you bring up a good point. I mean, I'd like to see like I don't know.
You need to have them let teams in first. Teams that want to come in.
I mean, don't like throw a hissy fit FIA every time Andretti says that they want to go to F1. I mean,
Yeah.
Joe says FIA is going to be coming for you, Jay.
I got my hands up. If they come for me, my hands are up. I don't mean no harm.
The FIA, we want Americans to watch our races. Also, the FIA, no, we don't want an American-owned team.
We don't want Logan Sargent in our sprint race. Anyway,
You should look up on the top of the pagoda sometime and see what flag's hanging there. just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
All right.
Everywhere.
We got some races to talk about. We'll start with NASCAR. Just a couple questions. Xfinity side, we saw Ryan Truex dominate this bad boy. And power to him because the Truex boys know how to drive around Dover Motor Speedway. I remember back when Martin Truex won his first Cup race. I think that was back in 2007 at this track. And since that time, he's won 4 races at this track. So he's not quite to Jimmy level at Dover yet, but he's like the second in command here at Dover. He's got himself another monster. By the way, Miles the Monster is the best, in my opinion, best trophy in the NASCAR Cup Series. Besides the Lobster. The Lobster is first.
what about the sword? The sword, Tristan.
The sword for me is definitely 5th. I would put the Martinsville clock.
Okay, the clock. Yeah,
I'd put that.
fair.
I'd put that in 3rd.
Yeah, I
And
would.
then
What
I
about
got-
the guitar at Nashville?
And then there it is. The guitar at Nashville is number 4 for me.
What
I'd rather
about
have
the
the
Daytona
grandfather
Xfinity? Daytona Xfinity, the giant slab of meat.
The tomahawk
Come on,
steak. The
that's
tomahawk
up there.
steak.
Yeah, the steak is up
That's
there.
true.
The steak's cool. But, like
Beef, it's what for dinner,
it's
bro.
like
Come
it's
on.
like let me eat my trophy. You know what I mean? Like that's a little like I raced for this. I don't know. Bring back the guitar trophy, Joe. I agree. Ryan Truex dominated this race. And all the power to him. He mentioned in his post-race interview that he wants to be full-time in Xfinity. Do you guys agree with that? And for which team would you like to see him run?
I mean,
Personally,
I'd
I
like to
want
see him.
Williams.
I'd like to see him in Gibbs. I think he's been pretty good this season. Every race he's ran, he's honestly, whether he's been in contention or not, he's been like you could pick him and no one would look at you any differently.
However,
Because-
it's difficult because he's splitting that car with Myatt Snyder and with Joe Graff Jr. And then like Hamlin, I think is running a race later for them this season. Truex might run. But there's a lot of drivers that are in this all-star car. But out of all the drivers, I feel like Truex definitely has deserved it so much.
Isn't there a junior motorsports seat opening up?
There could be a junior motorsports seat opening up.
You
Maybe.
never know.
I mean, here's the thing. Ryan Truex, hasn't he run his entire career, though, with Toyota? So it'd be really interesting to see him switch
It'd be
over.
weird to see a Truex not associated with JGR.
That's true.
Well, I mean, Martin Truex Jr. was with.
I know he used to be.
Yeah. So,
But now it would feel weird.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because he has been with Toyota for quite some time now. But yeah.
Well, we're gonna know if Ryan Truex, if they schedule him for the Dale Jr. podcast, we know what announcement's coming. We'll just say
Yeah, that's fair.
true.
That's
That's
true.
true. Because right when Josh Berry got on that show, I was like, "Ooh, Josh Berry, the guy from the Advanced Auto Parts series. Oh, he's going part time in Xfinity."
What if
Little
when Martin
did I know he would go on to win
retires?
3.
What if when Martin retires, he just swings up?
When
It'd
Martin
be a weird
retires-
choice.
I don't know, man. I think when Martin retires, we're gonna see like a Sammy Smith in the Cup Series. I don't really know, man.
I think we'll
It's-
see Sammy Smith in the Cup Series before then. I'm not gonna lie. To you.
Yeah.
I'm a Sammy Smith truther, so I might be biased a little bit.
I think we see JHN move up before Sammy Smith. But that's just me.
I agree. All right, well, that's all the Xfinity stuff I have. Cup Series action. We saw Ross Chastain get into Brennan Poole early in this race, taking out the number 5 of Kyle Larson in the process. Brennan Poole getting on TV. I'm happy to see our friend from the Power Hour podcast. If you don't watch Power Hour, with Eric Estep and Brendan Poole, great listen. He does his first Cup Series start and doesn't even get to barely complete any of the laps, due to Daniel's hat over there. Alex Bowman had words on Twitter about this, and Brendan obviously had post race stuff. But Chastain says in his post race that he owes a big apology to Rick Roy Racing. We've heard this apology before. I'm just saying.
We've heard this apology.
We're in the cycle. We're in the cycle.
Here's the thing. I am a big Trackhouse Racing fan. I love Suarez, love Chastain, but we're starting to see this over and over and over again. However, my dad brought up a really good point today when we were watching the end of this finish. He said I know it's completely different racing, but back in the 90s, you had 10 drivers that would move people out of the way. Whether if it was a Bodine, whether if it was a Rusty Wallace, Dale Sr., just a couple of them mentioned the guys that would move people out of the way. But nowadays, a lot of people only focus on Chastain and that's why I feel like a lot of people are kind of starting to like more gravitate towards Kyle Busch and like becoming Kyle Busch fans now.
Yeah, he's the new Kyle Busch.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Just
we're starting to
flat
see
out.
it. So I feel like we're starting to see a transition. We're starting to see that Darrell Waltrip to Rusty Wallace transition of people starting to hate Rusty Wallace back when Waltrip became the golden boy. We're starting to see Kyle Busch haters become Ross Chastain haters.
And Kyle Busch be the baby face. So
yeah,
We really are going from the Candy Man to the Melon Man. That's some evolution right there.
that is true. That is true.
But I'm just saying we've seen this before. The only way that Ross Chastain is going to prove his apology is if he demonstrates what he wants to do on track. He wants to be known as a clean driver, but I'd like to see Land. What do you think about this? Like,
It won't happen, and he shouldn't change. Keep wrecking people. It makes it exciting.
it's fine.
Because
Fine.
I like it.
everyone was rooting against him at the end of the race. It makes Martin Truex a better hero. It's
That's
fine.
true.
For NASCAR, it's great. I mean, I thought coming down to the end of the race where you got the guy who was a jerk and he got his comeuppance because not only did Kyle Larson block the ever-loving crap out of him, but Ty Gibbs did too. So
But Tyler Reddick, we saw. It is what it is. I love Ross Chastain. I love the way that he's racing.
He's a heel, man. He's a heel.
He's the heel. That's fine.
Never forget, before the Clash, WWE straight up did like a thing with NASCAR where they had like Rey Mysterio versus his son, and Ross Chastain was with his son. Ross Chastain was literally on the heel team. He's self-aware.
He knows.
He's Kyle Busch.
He knows
Like,
what
he's
doing.
the new Kyle Busch.
He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
I'm here for it.
Well, in the words of Brad Keselowski.
Kyle Busch is an ass.
All right, that's all we gotta do. Talk about with NASCAR. Jay, you want to talk about the Snorefest that was Baku?
I mean, there really wasn't much to talk about other than Nick DeVries can't keep it off a wall. But I mean, I guess that's all I can really
Did you guys
say.
see that meme that it was like it was the Patrick Starr meme, and it's the
he's
Nick
like stuck
DeVries
on
in
the wall.
F3 and Nick DeVries in F2, F3, and FE, and he's
Yeah.
like being like scientist Patrick,
Yeah.
and then F1 he can't. He's just like against the wall.
Yeah, I did see that.
I did see a tweet that said it was like F1 standings if they did actual foot racing, and it was like George Russell first, like Verstappen second, and then it just goes DNF.
No.
Nick DeVries.
Jesus. I don't know. But yeah, this race was very, very boring. Nick DeVries causing that safety car kind of ruined the strategy for everybody.
Yeah.
And that just kind of made the race a little less enjoyable. I mean, we've already seen the racing. The racing was already kind of ruined anyway because the DRS zone being shortened anyway. So there was not as much overtaking as there usually is at Baku. But I don't know. So let's get into it. Perez, Verstappen, Leclerc, Alonso, Sainz, Hamilton, Stroll, Russell, Norris, and Tsunoda are your top 10 for this race. It was a sprint weekend, so I don't know. How do you guys feel about the sprint weekend as a whole? I want to go to David first because I knew David would have a very big opinion, and I agree with David actually. So
I also agree.
It's terrible. What's
Yeah.
the point? I don't get it, especially at a track like and Baku has been a good track in the past. It seems like it's not been producing the kind of racing that we expect from it the last couple of years. But I don't know. The sprint races are just stupid. Why are we qualifying on a Friday? None of it makes any sense. I don't like it.
Yep, that was actually I was talking to one of my friends. His name is Mike. I talk about him a lot on the show. But I was talking to him, and I like, why are we qualifying for the main race on Friday? Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like that's technically 2 days away, but like it's just stupid. I don't know. I don't like it.
It's pointless because like last season at least it was like if you win the sprint, then that affects the standings for the
actual
start
race.
of the race,
Yeah.
the actual race, which is fine. But like I like the fact that like the sprint race is now it's kind of like its own thing, but it's pointless because then you just go back to where it was. I mean, Russell started behind Verstappen, finished in front of Verstappen in the sprint race, and now he just has to go back behind him again. I mean,
and he has 2 different qualifying sessions.
yeah, Brennan says in the chat, it's a practice race. I mean, it's like you ever play Mario Party and like you're like playing the mini game, you're playing the mini game before. That's literally what this is.
It's just so you can learn the rules.
Yeah, you're learning the rules so you can go in and win and get your stars. That is what the sprint race is. It's Mario Party.
He's not wrong though.
It kind of spoils the race too because it's like, well, now we know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
now we know
the
Perez
is completely different.
That and if that like because my friend Mike, he was like, I just love seeing cars on track, so I don't really care about the sprint races and stuff. You can't watch the cars on track if they're all getting crashed out in the qualifying or the sprint races beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just know that my girlfriend.
Practice.
Yeah.
I just know my girlfriend watched the sprint race with me, and she's like, "So is this just the race for this weekend?" I'm like, "No, there's I'll be up tomorrow at 7 watching."
Yeah.
I did not. So, and clearly I did not miss anything.
Yeah, you didn't. You didn't really. There wasn't that much to it. So that's I mean, Checo's the king of the streets, so that's all.
And now Checo has cut that points lead down pretty drastically, and now is only behind by, what is it, 6 points, or is it 8 points?
Yeah, let me go over the driver standings actually real quick. So you have Verstappen is first with 93 points, Sergio Perez 87, Fernando Alonso 60, Lewis Hamilton 48, Carlos Sainz 34, Charles Leclerc 28, George Russell 28. Those two are tied. That's going to be an interesting battle. Lance Stroll 27, Lando Norris 10, and Nico Hulkenberg 6 points to round out your top 10 and your top 5 constructors: Red Bull, Aston, Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren.
Really quickly, Jay. I just realized I completely forgot to read the driver standings for Cup really quick, so I'm going to read the top 16 for current playoff people. Ross Chastain, we just talked about him. We didn't really bash him, but social media is bashing him right now. Is currently the points leader. A little bit. Currently the points leader, followed by Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, today's winner, Martin Truex Jr., William Byron, Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe, and Daniel Suarez. Right on the bubble is very consistent as of recently, Ty Gibbs. Mm-hmm. So there you go. That's your top 16. And then manufacturer standings right now, Chevrolet, Toyota, Ford. Nice. That doesn't really matter, but like
checks out.
Does check out.
Yeah. My final thing for F1 before we transition to IndyCar. And it's really, do you guys, so Christian Horner said that Verstappen and Perez are free to race. Do you think they're actually going to race each other as hard as maybe like Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg have in the past or anything? Or
well, we know that Stroll and Alonso aren't going to be racing because I'm not going to pass you.
Because I'm not going to pass you. But I don't know. David, you want to start?
They'll race to the point where Verstappen can clinch the championship, or Perez if it swings that way. Yeah. They'll let him race and gain points on each other, or at the point where they don't have to worry about anybody else in the championship, and then they can just be like, I mean, I think that would maybe be the best case scenario if you want them to race, is if the two Red Bulls get so far out ahead of everybody else, they literally cannot lose the championship, either constructors or drivers. Then it's going to be Katie bar the door. But outside of that, I think there's going to be a point in the season, probably around July, where one of them will take command of the championship, and then that will be team orders from there, where it's going to be this person's going to win the championship unless things drastically change.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Tristan or Daniel?
Same thing. I mean, they're gonna race. I do think that might leave a little bit of blank space out there.
Okay. With the Taylor Swift
We're not.
references.
I mean, it's fine unless there's trouble. Thank you. I had to
Okay.
do another one. But right now, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I mean, with a couple more street courses this season. I mean, we're heading to Miami for Max to dominate next week. But I mean, I'm excited. I think this is going to be a solid championship battle between the teammates.
And Brandon, I do agree. After the summer break, we probably will know who's going to be
I mean,
the
shoot,
champion. So
we pretty much just know it's going to be one of the two. Like,
yeah,
let's be real. It's one of the two. It's most likely going to be Verstappen just because he's like baby face of the brand. Like, as much as I would like to see Checo in the championship, just because like I think it'd be cool to just get a different championship winner.
And I don't normally agree with Max Verstappen, but yes, the sprint weekend is terrible.
oh
Yeah,
I
the
said
sprint
that-
weekend sucks.
I said that from the practice at the beginning of the weekend.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I mean, I've been saying that since last year when they were doing it. I was like, why are we doing this?
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world, but it's just it doesn't achieve anything.
All right. Well, IndyCar time. Let's talk
All
Barber.
right.
A couple highlights
So-
from Barber.
Yeah, so first of all, shout out to Indy Next. Indy Next was finally back. Shout out to
Hey, you
honorary
remember
Indy
these
boys.
guys? Do you remember them? You know,
Remember Indy Next?
3 months
they
ago?
exist.
There's already
Um,
guys who ran out of funding, so no, I don't remember all of them because there was different guys.
That is true. But one guy we do remember, he's been on the show. He's a friend of the show. Christian Rasmussen got his first win with HMD Motorsports.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much just dominated the
Rasmussen.
whole thing. He led the entire race. There was no
Want to
question he was
drive
going to win.
first to first.
But shout out to Indy Next. Shout out to Christian Rasmussen. Shout out to Nolan Siegel and Toby Sowery getting the podium. Toby Sowery filling in for Josh Pearson because Josh Pearson has, I think there's 2, maybe 3 races he's going to miss due to other racing series conflicts. And I believe Toby Sowery is filling, I think, all 3. He at least filled in this week. Obviously, he got a podium. But shout out to Indy Next. And then the main show that race of the weekend. I mean,
Yeah.
I say it about every weekend,
Yeah.
but
I mean, Dover was pretty nice.
That
but-
wasn't on the weekend though.
that was
Yeah,
the
definitely
week.
not on the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the long weekend.
But just some things to note. We got some drivers that had pretty solid days. We also had drivers that had not as great days. Notably, Stingray Rob, he crashed out. My first question, so Stingray Rob, I don't even know exactly what happened, but he just got ran off the road.
Well, no, he had a
I don't know if
mechanical
it's
failure.
Yeah, I knew it was a
Yeah, I think it
mechanical
was an
issue, but
engine.
he got off the road, and they just waited to throw the yellow. The reason that they waited to do this was
Get all
to
the
try
pits
and
off
let
there.
people pit and potentially change their strategy. I want to hear your guys' opinion on if they should do that, allow people to change their strategy, or allow one strategy to become the favored one, or if they should just yellow flag it, let people figure it out. I'll start with David, since IndyCar. I'm sure you've got some opinions on this.
Yeah, you're tossing a fastball at me. So I guess what I said last night, kind of in my wrap-up show, was, and I've said it a couple times about this. I think something's either worthy of a full course yellow or it's not. And I think I understand why they don't just open the pits, because there's a safety. There's an argument to be made that maybe it's unsafe for guys to be flying around the track when maybe there's safety crews on circuit to try to pit under yellow. I get it. But by the same token, having a car stationary, even off of the racing line like Stingray Rob was in the grass, there's always a chance that someone's going to lose it and collide with a stationary car. And I don't know. I don't know what the right solution to it is. It does feel a little bit feels a bit like race manipulation every time it happens. I know Twitter was very upset about it this time because it directly benefited the Penske cars, but for the most part, they play it pretty far down, or pretty straight down the line. I think I remember one race where it specifically like penalized the Penske cars. I think it was the Mid Ohio race one year. So they do it. It seems to leave a bad taste in my mouth when it happens, and unfortunately, it seems like it happens more often than not. The good news is we probably won't have to deal with this on the ovals and at the Indy 500. And really, the Indy 500 is the race you want to have be the most legitimate. So there thankfully will be no question at when your most eyeballs are on you. But it doesn't help anytime there's a result in question. Although it was a great race, still.
Yeah. Tristan J.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Really quickly. Let's do a couple shout outs in the chat. Sauri podium was a major highlight. I agree. Nannini versus Abel thoughts. We'll get on that.
I've got some thoughts.
We'll get on that really quick. And then Tristan rocking the orange soda for the podcast. You see me, I'm an orange soda guy. I just finished this one. I'm more of a sun-kissed guy rather than a crush guy. Just saying. Fanta is like in the middle. Like if I had to say,
fair.
mid tier. But yeah, I'm definitely a sun-kissed guy. But yeah, I agree. I mean, we've seen NASCAR kind of do this in the past, where if a driver will spin or like kind of gets stopped on the track, they'll let the people like kind of finish through the pit stops. But obviously, if it's like kind of like how Stingray was, where he's off to the side, it's kind of like it's one of those things that you have to like think about. Maybe like adopting like a virtual safety car in IndyCar would be kind of nice.
That would be great.
Yeah, just to kind of like keep the cars going on the track, completing more laps.
But see, that was gonna be my opinion. I hate the virtual safety car in F1. I think it should just be yellow immediately. So I think even in IndyCar, as soon as a car goes off, gets beached, has a mechanical failure, stops on track, whatever, I think it should be an immediate yellow. In my opinion, that's what I think. Like, I hate the virtual safety car. I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate it. It's so annoying because I don't know because it makes racing better.
They're slowing down.
Going on that.
Yeah.
IndyCar does not need gimmicks.
Yeah.
How many times must we say it? They don't need them.
True.
It's the best pure motorsport out of the big three.
Yeah.
It's the most versatile.
Oh no.
No.
Oh, we're gonna go there.
We'll
Landing
we're
cast.
always going there. We're always going there.
I love when drivers talk after not being in a race car this season. Anyway.
Speaking
Not
of,
on him. Not on
speaking of
him.
companies going bankrupt. But should we go into Nannini versus Abel before we go
Yeah,
more
we
into
might.
IndyCar?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I mean, we're pretty much done with IndyCar, so you might as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna just go over the standings, but before we go into that, Nannini versus Abel. All you really need to know, there's a big crash. It was Matteo Nannini's fault. It just happens. Like it's nothing against him. Racing
quick,
incidents happen.
Real quick, Dan. Make sure you're in the middle, so you're off screen because you were off screen.
Oh,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah.
It was a racing incident, but in racing incidents, it can tend to be one guy's fault over the other. That's just how it is. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The problem I have with it is they're interviewing Jacob Abel after the race, and they're basically saying hey, what happened? And he basically was very matter of fact said, this is what happened. I talked to Matteo after the race, and he was essentially Matteo said, I have more experience than everybody else on the grid. I'm not talking about this.
Okay.
And that leaves a sour taste in my mouth, in
Hunter
driver's
McElroy
mouth.
has
And
something to say. I'm just saying.
Hunter McElroy was not very happy with Kiffin Simpson first lap of the race. We could go into that too, but honestly, I just think Matteo Nannini's response there felt very Grosjean to McLaughlin St. Pete-esque, where after he got wrecked, he was like, what are you doing? I was in the lead. You weren't in the lead, bud. You weren't.
However, I do think Grosjean was going to win that race if there wasn't contact between those two drivers. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Grosjean also would have won this race if he didn't waste all his push to pass, but that's a conversation we're not going to have right now.
That is true. That is true.
My one last question, it's not a big one, but Grosjean, is he going to get a win?
Yeah.
And if so,
Yes.
how long do you think it takes?
It's going to be
next week.
Next week. Yeah.
I'm thinking we're gonna be there. We're gonna be standing somewhere, and I'm gonna be interviewing Grosjean after the race in the media center. That's what I think is gonna happen, and I think we see him get his first win at the Indy GP, and he's gonna be my pick. You can cement it in right now.
You know, I'll throw out a hot take. I don't know how much I believe this, but I think it would be a hot take to say he keeps throwing away the rest of the season, and he doesn't close out a race this season. I don't necessarily know if I believe it. I'm not gonna like die on that hill, but you could argue that he just every time he has an opportunity, it feels like he throws it away or something happens, and I don't know what it's gonna take to get the monkey off his back, but I don't know. It could last this whole season.
He could have won every single race this year, by the way.
He
literally
been in
have
position to won 4 races in a row.
And he's 5th in points right now. Like that's
here's the thing. So
not bad.
For those of you who don't know, little project I'm working on, probably mid-season, we'll make a video on it. I'm kind of doing IndyCar points in a NASCAR-esque points way. It's not completely 1-to-1, it's different, but I'm incorporating like stage points in some way. Little 4 race in recap. Grosjean's winning in that.
That is kind of crazy.
He hasn't won a race because he throws everyone away.
Yeah.
I get he's an aggressive driver. It's going to happen. I think he gets the win eventually. But you could argue that he just is going to keep doing this because I don't know when he's going to learn that he doesn't have to push, knock everybody away.
Do we have to teach you this lesson, F1 man?
To be fair, he was a Stingray Rob caution away from winning at Barber.
True.
Because they probably you probably don't have McLaughlin on in that close of striking distance to Grosjean. I think Grosjean probably had, Grosjean would have built up a lead, had the pit stop, and had at least a little bit more distance between him and McLaughlin before those two came together. So I don't know.
Well, counterpoint, if that caution doesn't happen, Palou's still in contention.
True.
Yes.
And Palou is a very clean driver. Grosjean has not been.
Speaking of clean driving,
never know.
that battle for 4th place between Palou and O'Ward was something to watch, man. That was a very clean, very nice battle between those two drivers.
Flashback to 2 seasons ago. But yeah, podium for this race was Scott McLaughlin, Romain Grosjean, Will Power. I'll read the standings for IndyCar right now. I'll just do the top 10. Top 10 in points. Marcus Ericsson is still your points leader. Pato O'Ward is 2nd, only behind by 3 points. Alex Palou in 3rd. He's always there. Scott McLaughlin 4th. Romain Grosjean 5th. Joseph Newgarden 6th. Will Power 7th. Scott Dixon 8th. Kyle Kirkwood 9th. Colton Herta 10th. Notably, someone that's in 11th that you might not know, Callum Ilot's in 11th.
Oh, wow.
Just interesting to know. Just interesting to note.
However, driver of the day this past weekend, we got to give a quick shout out to our boy Marcus Armstrong for winning driver of the day for IndyCar. A little round of applause there. Congratulations.
He looked pissed about that award, by the way.
He did. He's like, I finished 11th.
He was like, why? Why am I getting this?
Armstrong. I've had one interaction with him, and it's the interaction that was seen in my St. Pete video. And it was an awkward interaction. Unfortunately, I've started off on a bad foot with Marcus Armstrong because I saw him. I tapped the PR guy on the shoulder. I'm like, can we talk to him after the race? The PR guy said yes. Then I saw that Stingray Rob was available. So we walked over to Stingray Rob, and then we turned around and Marcus is walking past. I'm like, hey, Marcus, can we talk? And the PR guy's like, no. But then it was too late. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'll do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. And I'm like, tough day today. He's like, I didn't think it was a tough day. I'm like, God bless him. Uh-oh.
Well, he struck out.
Gotta leave it open-ended every time.
I picked you for Rookie of the Year. Something like that. I don't know.
After talking
smooth things over with him. Yeah.
Don't worry, it's just.
I picked Canapino.
You did pick Canapino Cappuccino, who did have a rough weekend.
Yeah,
a rough couple of weekends for Canapino. All right, a couple things before we transition into talking about something before predictions. It's going to be a quick surprise. Indy GP2, I think that's a good prediction, Brennan, for for Grosjean winning, and then I might have a crush on the guy drinking Crush. Joe, you know you'll see me in a couple of days, so I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. All right, really quickly before we go into predictions, you see the Colts hat on David Land. What a draft! What a draft! My God.
Cautiously optimistic. Cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Yes.
They haven't drafted a young quarterback since Andrew Luck. That was good until it wasn't. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I like that they build out the roster a little bit. Again, we'll see. I have learned to just not get too excited, but I think Anthony Richardson has the potential to be a great leader for this team and the future of the franchise. He's got the right attitude, and that's a big part of the battle. We'll see.
I agree. However, that third round pickup, the fact that Josh Downs fell to us, in
Dude,
the
I
third
was
round,
hyped about that. Hyped about that.
Like I thought Josh Downs might be going in the beginning of the second round. So the fact that he fell to us in mid third round, I'm very pleased with that, and he'll be a great young slot target for Richardson at the beginning of the season. And now that we've developed that O-line and that D-line a little bit more, I'm again cautiously optimistic about the Colts, but as a fan, happy. Jay, how do you feel about your Cardinals trading away that number 3 pick?
Man, listen. Let's not get into it. It was not a good draft. Let's not get into it. I don't want to talk about it.
All right. Well, that's all I got to talk about for that. So shout out Colts for making me happy this weekend. We got some predictions to go into, so let's go ahead and transition over to those.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, Jay, highlight reel of predictions.
Okay.
How did we do?
Okay, so last week the cameras are kind of messed up. I forgot to adjust the cameras, so we'll deal with that for a little bit. But so last week we all got F1, at least 1 point in F1 last week, but we got everything else wrong last week. So, yeah, it wasn't a very good week last week, but we all got 1 point. It's 6-4 now in our points totals.
How about shout out really quickly though? Last week.
I was about to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we had one of Daniel's very, very good friends on. Daniel, want to explain him and like what he does and everything?
Yeah, so we had Landon Kuntz on. He does a show called In the Fast Lane for Indy Radio. He's a good friend of mine, a good friend of the show. We'll see him around in May. But we had him on the show. He was doing a little project where he was kind of documenting how we do the show. And I don't know, I thought it was interesting what he was doing. So we had him do some group picks, and he actually picked pretty solid, I think.
Got that Martin Truex Jr. pick right.
Yeah,
so
he did get that
Martin
Truex Jr. pick right. 100%.
He stole a lot of my picks right before I could get him out.
He did let him.
He stole like all of our picks actually last week. So let's not talk about it.
He's a smart man. What can I say?
He is a smart man. So yeah, I don't know.
All right, but we do have a couple solid. We do have a couple solid points. So David, you are part of the guest points reaction.
Oh no,
or predictions. So the way that our point system works, every prediction that you get right, you get 1 point. Currently, the point standings right now, I am in the lead with 6 points, followed by Jay with 4. Daniel and him are tied with 4 points, and then our guest picks throughout all the drivers that have picked this season, those include Malukas, Stingray Rob, Landon Kuntz, who was on the show last week. We should have had Hinch pick, but he didn't. We ran out of time for that.
It was in a weird schedule.
It was a weird schedule, but currently throughout all those drivers, Landon Kuntz has brought home 1 point for the guests. So you are part of the guests.
And there's been 0 points, only 1 point between 3 people.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's very difficult to score these points because
just call us Haas.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. So.
McLaren over here. All right. Not untrue. Let's clear the board. Where are we going this weekend for the NASCAR Truck Series and Cup Series? We're heading to Kansas, and then IndyCar gets the week off, so we're heading to Miami for the Formula One. So for NASCAR Cup Series, you get 2 picks Dave, for Xfinity and trucks. Now Xfinity this week, but for trucks you get 1, and then for F1 you pick the podium. It doesn't matter if you pick Charles Leclerc and he finishes second, but you had him in third place. You don't get a point for that. So you have to get them correct in the position that they get, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Oh,
but I mean,
jeez.
so like, let's say you pick Max first, Checo second, Fernando Alonso third. Let's say Max and Checo didn't finish first or second, but Alonso did finish third. You would still get a point for Alonso finishing third.
That was
so.
literally what happened to me last weekend.
Yeah, you got Leclerc.
Max and Checo flipped.
Yeah, and you had Charles third, which is crazy.
I almost had a perfect podium.
And
Do
to this day,
Do trucks have an entry list out?
Yes, it's on the
yes.
app, at least.
Yeah, it is on the app.
But yeah, or Tristan, you want to go first?
Yeah, we'll start in the NASCAR Truck Series. You get 1 pick. Some highlights of people that are going to be making starts this week. Tony Breidinger is going to be making her Truck Series debut. Johnny Sauter is going to be in that 04 for Roper Racing. Nick Lights is going to be in that 20 truck for Young's Motorsports. Josh Rayum is going to be in the 22. Ross Chastain in the 41. Brennan Poole in the 46. And Justin S. Carroll is going to be in the 90 truck for Carroll Motorsports. Just a one-off team, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Probably.
All right.
Oh,
So
this is easy. I know exactly who I'm picking.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I know who I'm picking too.
So yeah, you guys go right ahead. David, we'll let you start since you're the guest on the show.
Yes.
Who you picking?
Kyle Busch and trucks. Kyle Busch and trucks, for
right.
sure.
Okay.
I get 2 NAS Cup Series picks, right?
Yes, you do.
So William Byron and Tyler Reddick.
Okay.
And then F1, the podium will be. Oh, it's tough.
It's Miami. It's tough because we've only had 1 race there, and it's
Yeah.
completely different this season.
Verstappen signs Leclerc.
Evans signs Leclerc. Rough race for Perez.
Signs Charles Leclerc. Who was your?
I do like-
Who's your cup picks again?
Byron and Reddick.
Byron and Reddick. Oh, I did screw Sergio Perez, didn't I? Oh well.
Oh well.
There we go.
Oh no! Anyway,
Come on, Carlos. Hey, it's big points if I get it right.
it's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
He's going my strategy from last year.
All right, I'll go next. Truck Series, give me Zane Smith, my boy, my go-to Truck Series pick. For Cup Series action, I'll let Jay type that in. But in Kansas, this is a Toyota. Toyota's race to lose, in my opinion. My first pick, I'm gonna go. He hasn't had a whole lot of success this year, but I think he does well. Give me Denny Hamlin. I think he gets that win. And then my underdog pick, that second pick, or not necessarily an underdog because it's Kansas. Give me Bubba Wallace.
B-Dub. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Daniel. Oh, you forgot your
All
podium.
right.
You forgot your podium.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, sorry,
you
my
can do
podium. F1 podium, Max P1. P2, give me Sergio Perez.
Okay.
And P3, I'm gonna go George Russell.
Ooh.
Interesting.
A Mercedes. That's a bold pick.
Add
It
a
is bold.
little flavor. Add a little flavor. Okay. Daniel, let's hear it.
All right, trucks, melons.
Melons. Uh-oh.
Ross Chastain. We're going Ross Chastain in trucks. And then Cup. I'm going to go Toyota's. First pick, I'm going to go my boy Tyler Reddick. Second pick, I wanted to go Hamlin, and I could go Bell. And Truex just won, but it's a wild card. Give me Ty Gibbs.
Ooh.
I
Wild
honestly like it because he's been doing well.
He's been heating up a little bit, and it's a little scary.
He's heating up.
So
Interesting.
I don't know. Maybe we
No.
get my Chastain pick part 2 with Ty Gibbs. And then F1, we're in Miami. I'm gonna go Perez, Verstappen.
This third pick is always the hardest one because you can guarantee the first two positions.
I'll go Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Okay.
I picked Hamilton last week.
Hamilton
third
shouldn't be a
spot.
weird pick, but it is, and I don't like that.
That is
Like-
yeah, it is kind of crazy. But yeah, now going over to me. So looking at the truck entry list, I'm gonna go, Haley. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going Zane Smith.
You're gonna feel so bad if she pulls a win out.
I know. I'm gonna be so pissed.
This is like the first week in forever we haven't picked Nick Sanchez. He's
true.
gonna finally win.
Dude! Can I
Uh-oh.
change? Can I change? To be
Yeah, go
different
for it.
from Tristan? Okay.
Up to you, man.
Okay. I'm changing.
Well, now he's not winning, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. It's all over.
I completely forgot about Nick Sanchez, honestly.
never forget Nick Sanchez, my boy.
Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Shout out Rev Racing. Follows the show on Twitter.
They do
Shout
follow
out
us,
Gamebridge.
Shout out Gamebridge.
Shout out Zach Veach.
Now looking at the cup entry list. Jeez.
Y'all are gonna get me in trouble.
Sheesh. I'm gonna go, I think, with maybe a Toyota and a Chevy. Actually, no. I'm gonna go
Uh-oh.
Ford and Toyota.
Ooh. Way against the grain.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Ryan Blaney and Christopher Bell.
Okay.
It's honestly not bad. Blaney had a good race this past weekend, and
Yeah.
I think maybe that consistency gets him more of a hot streak. All right, who's that podium?
That podium. So now the king of the streets. Well, this is a parking lot technically, but
Hey, there's water this year.
there
There's
is
water
water.
this year.
There is
Hey.
water this year. There is water this year. All right, Sergio Perez first, Max Verstappen second, and finally we are going to go with Fernando Alonso.
Dang, we really went to the America race. We didn't pick Logan Sargent. How dare we?
I wonder why. I wonder why we would.
I mean, there could be a 15 car pile up at the start. You never know.
They're not
That's right.
kilometers here.
All right, but David, you do get the honorary pick for our group pick of the week. Out of any race that is going to happen this weekend, could be Cup, Trucks, F1. You can choose one driver that we all have not chosen, and that would be our group pick, and every one of us will get plus 5 points added to our total, including the
If it
guest.
hits.
If it hits.
It's the big boy bonus.
It has only ever hit one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who got it?
Josh Berry.
Oh, okay.
We were very close multiple times with the Trevor Bain group pick.
Yeah, he's our
Trevor
group pick
Bain is a
legend.
group pick legend.
Yeah.
So who picked Josh Berry?
I think it was I cannot
Well,
remember.
last year we would just all like collectively try and like decide on one.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But if we
we
ever have a
We
guest,
typically
if
do,
we ever
but
have a
when we have
guest on,
guests, they get full dibs.
Yeah.
All right. So this is for all the marbles. I feel like I should split it then. Who didn't we pick? So what are our picks for Cup?
Okay.
The unique names.
Hamlin, Bubba, Tyler Reddick, Ty Gibbs, Blaney, Bell, and Byron.
We picked all of Gibbs, all of JGR except for Truex, all
Okay.
of 2311, and then Blaney. Yeah.
I almost
And
said
Byron.
we didn't pick all of JGR, Kyle Busch, and then I was like, wait, Kyle Busch. Is
Yeah, not anymore.
That was weird. That was my first weird moment with that. Okay, wow.
This is tough. I've got two names in my head.
Mhm.
And I think I'm gonna go with Ross Chastain.
okay,
Melons.
I like it.
Interesting. Okay.
The other one was
Right.
Larson, but I feel like Larson's on a real bad luck streak right now. So
Yeah,
That's
I
true.
agree.
That's true. I agree.
I agree. Ross Chastain group pick this week, guys. All right.
Gas it, smash it.
Yep.
Gas it, smash it, Melon Man,
Pass it.
grass
I
it,
don't know.
pass it. I don't know. I don't know,
Cash
man.
it. I
Something.
don't
I
know.
don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I do not know.
There's
All right.
David's picks on your screen, just so we can all finalize them. And then we have our picks over here now. So we're gonna see how they turn out this next weekend. So, yeah.
Alrighty, let's go back to that main screen. Really quickly, we want to thank David Land, our guest host this week. Thanks for providing all the IndyCar knowledge, as you always do, for everyone. Really quickly, Dave, we ask every single person who comes on the show, and we're going to ask you it, okay? What's your go-to gas station snack and drink combination?
Ooh. All right. So we don't have a Buc-ee's around here, unfortunately. So I gotta
That
throw
is
Buc-ee's
I
out.
do like the shirt. I do like the shirt. Yeah.
I know. I did actually. I did not mean to do that, but here we are.
Product placement.
So generally speaking, I grew up in Franklin, Indiana, and so the number one go-to is a Polar Pop. Got to get that
Really?
32 ounce. I don't think it's 79 cents anymore, but I'm going to be a boomer and say it's 79 cents still. And then you get a couple of Tornadoes out of the off the little grill there. So yeah, Tornadoes and a Pop, and you probably won't poop for a week, but it's all good.
Speaking, last person we had on the show, Hinch said that he will not touch one of those rollers with a 6-foot pole.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so my goal is now I'm gonna, because I know a few people. I don't know Hinch very well, but I do know people who know Hinch. I'm going to sneak Tornadoes into the speedway every day, and I'm gonna go up to the people who know Hinch. I'm gonna be here. Give Hinch the Tornadoes.
It's a glizzy challenge.
Glizzy challenge. Oh no, not the glizzies. I wouldn't be caught dead eating a gas station glizzy.
I get you with the Tornadoes. I get you.
The
Okay, that's
Tornadoes,
valid.
those are safe because all that is microwaving. The glizzies,
Yeah.
you have no idea where those come from and what meat is in them. You gotta get
Gas
the
station
meat.
glizzy challenge at IMS. Let's get it, boys.
Dude, I might throw up just thinking about that.
Well, we'll spend a lot of time in the bathroom if that happens. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
That's,
There wouldn't be any.
Well,
interviews
really
on
well
this.
acquainted with the beautiful bathrooms at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
yeah, newly repainted, and we're
Newly
gonna paint them
repainted.
after the gas station glizzies. So
Can't wait to see the troughs. I'm really excited. It's gonna be a good weekend. I'm just excited. I'm picking up my credentials tomorrow. I don't know.
I think I'm
when
also
you
going
guys-
to get mine tomorrow.
Yeah. So
wow.
I gotta
Okay,
work
so I guess
tomorrow,
we're all gonna
probably.
be in there. Oh, boo!
Yeah.
Dang.
Sorry.
well,
I'll go
Well,
Thursday.
you know.
though.
Look at you being responsible.
Yeah. A little bit.
but yeah, it's been great, Dave, having you on the show. Go ahead, shout out anything you want. I mean, we know you have a new podcast, so if you want to shout out your show.
Oh yeah, we got a podcast tomorrow. Actually, Kyle and I will be hotly debating the TV show, and obviously now we have new information that maybe Vice isn't going to last. But yeah, no, I mean it's Indy 500 month, right? So this is like, you know, you get the Mr. Incredible thing going on, and you go showtime, right? So yeah, I mean, I feel like anybody who's listening to this knows what the deal is at this point, but the Indy 500 is when we really step on the gas. We've got some exciting things coming. I can't wait for you guys all to see the coverage because we're doing stuff that's gonna scare people.